I will hand you over to Andrew, our sales manager.
Thank you, Jane. Good afternoon, everybody. We've been really excited to put on this webinar today because we've had a year of not being able to do the normal sales activities that we normally do. So we'd normally be visiting customers, seeing you all at Printwear and Promotion, the annual trade show. It was going to be a week ago, so we'd have been seeing you all there. There's also a road show called Print and Stitch, which we tend to do about 10 to 12 different shows throughout the year at various locations around the country. We've been unable to do those as well for the last year. So it's a really nice opportunity this to speak to our customers and see if we can help them with their embroidery, which is the point of these webinars. To hopefully you'll be able to pick up one or two things at least that will make your embroidery a better quality going forward. So as Jane pointed out, I'm going to talk about backings. And the title there is the foundations for your embroidery. So next slide, please. Now, why do we use backings? The main reason that you'd look to use a backing is to give the embroidery stability. Now, there's so many different types of fabrics that you embroider onto. It means you need lots of different types of backings to give you the best results. But essentially, what the backing does, it supports the embroidery to stop the embroidery moving or distorting during the process of embroidering it, and also to prevent puckering. Now, I'll go into what the puckering is afterwards and show you some examples of what you don't want to achieve, really, as a final result. The other reason you'd look to use a backing is to give the embroidery some durability in certain scenarios. So if it was going to be washed a lot and the design was such where it needed a little bit more support, it would help make the embroidery last a bit longer. Next slide, please, Jane. Now, in our brochure, you'll find about 30 different types of backings, which is why a lot of our customers get a little bit confused about where to start with backings. We have different colours. We have black and white are generally the two colours we have. And because there's so many different types of fabrics, that's why we have a lot of different types of backings. It also comes down to personal preference. Some customers like a feel and touch of a certain backing, and the way it performs on different fabrics is the main reason they look to have different types. Okay, next slide, please. Let's look at these fabrics because that's key to understanding when you would use a backing. Most fabrics fall within these main categories, so let's look at the four types of fabrics. The first one is knitted fabrics. Now, these stretch in all directions and are particularly unstable. Fabrics would benefit from having a soft cutaway backing to help control the stretch and distortion. The next type is a lightweight woven fabric, such as dress shirts and silk. These fabrics are light, but are typically not stretchy, and these you could use a heavier tearaway or a cutaway backing. Next one would be category with tightly woven heavyweight fabrics, such as denim, corduroy, and canvas. Now, these have minimal stretch and won't need as much stabilisation. Now, a 40-gram tearaway backing is often suitable here, but you might not always need a backing at all. If you're embroidering onto some real heavyweight boiler suits, that fabric is really strong and stable, so you might not even need a backing at all. The final category, and probably the most problematic for embroiderers, I'm sure a lot of you will agree, who've tried embroidering onto performance wear, because it's light and thin and stretchy, it creates the most difficulty. These products, there's products out there called Weblon, which is the backing we have designed specifically to combat this sort of fabric. So I'll go on to that in a later slide. Okay, next slide. Okay, the two main types of backings are tearaway and cutaway. That's the way we categorize them. Let's look at the pros and cons of both. A tearaway backing is really good for people who want to increase their productivity. So most people who do embroidery will want to get through as much embroidery as possible, and this will help them do that. The tearaway backing, since it's removed by pulling the backing away after the embroidery, so it comes away really quickly and easily. Therefore, the production speeds can increase rather than having to cut away with scissors, the other type of backing. Now, there's a downside to that in that it doesn't give as much support in general as a cutaway backing. Because of the nature of the material, it tears away. It doesn't give as much stability to the actual embroidery as a cutaway backing. Now, a cutaway backing, as it describes, you have to actually cut it away with scissors after the embroidery process. But the material itself is more stable. So on certain fabrics, such as stretchier garments and thinner fabrics, you might want to consider using a cutaway backing to get the best performance and end result. Okay, next slide. Okay, which type or texture of backing? So backing is a vital consideration, and it does come down to personal preference, which is why we have so many different types of backing. Like I said, it will also come down to the fabric you're embroidering onto and also the type of design. So if you've got a really heavy stitch count design, that might dictate the type and texture of backing that you choose. The photographs there on the right are quite informative. It shows you on the left-hand side, the flower on the left shows it's a nice example of an embroidery design that's come out really well using a correct backing for that fabric. On the right-hand side, a poor choice of backing was made, which has meant there's been lots of puckering around the outside of the embroidery, which isn't attractive at all. Now, it's always a good idea to have a selection of different backings available to you, because you will come across different fabrics and different designs that might catch you out. So often embroiderers might have a lighter weight tearaway if they prefer to use tearaways, a heavyweight tearaway, and also a cutaway backing in their production facility so that they can try the different options to see what works best for them. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, how to select thickness and weight of the backing. Now, again, that does come a little bit down to personal preference. We have customers that prefer to use, our best-selling backing is a 40-gram tearaway backing. It's called Back 004, and it's a really popular choice, and we sell loads of it. Often, customers might have to use 2 to 3 pieces on a certain design. Other customers might look a different way and think, I'd rather pick a heavier option backing, perhaps a 75-gram tearaway, and only use 1 to 2 pieces rather than 2 to 3 of the 40-gram backing. So again, it's personal preference depending on the type of fabric you're stitching onto. So it's often a good idea to try them out and see which you prefer and see which gives you the best results. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is another one. It goes on from what I was saying. How many layers do you need backing? Now, it's a myth that multiple layers of backing is going to improve the result of the embroidery. If you've got too many layers, it can cause hard and inflexible embroidery, which also doesn't look or feel very nice. If you're going to use an easy tear backing, often the way they tear in a directional way, so they tear better in one direction than the other, easier in one direction. If that's the case, you can cross the layers over at a 90-degree angle. So if you're using 2 pieces of backing, move the other one at 90 degrees so that it gives a little bit more stability to the design. Okay. Cut squares or rolls. Increasingly, every year that passes, we're noticing a massive shift in people ordering cut squares. Now, what's the reason for this? It's just to make the whole process quicker. I asked one of my good customers to time how long it would take to cut a whole roll of backing, and he asked his fastest production person to cut a roll of backing in one hit. Now, it was a 100-meter roll, and it took an hour and a half to cut that roll of backing. Now, that's a long time out of the day of production. If you can get them arriving to you already cut in a box to put at the base of your embroidery machine, you can see why it's becoming more and more popular. Now, if you were doing a lot of the same size garment, the same size logo, using a 15-centimeter frame, for example, and doing lots of that run, it makes sense to have pre-cut backings. If you were constantly changing the sizes, you would still obviously need a roll in to sort of cut the backing to suit the different types of frames you're using. But increasingly, cut squares is the way the market's going for ourselves. Next slide, please. Now, on here, I'm going to show you a video which shows you our cutting service, just so you've got an idea of how that works. So hopefully you should be able to see and hear that.
Can't hear anything.
You can't hear anything, it's muted. Well, I can talk you through it, no problem. But essentially, the roll is loaded onto the machine. You will have selected a size that you want the backing cut to. We can cut squares or we can cut rectangles for you. As it comes out, it goes through the machine. The blades are set at that size that you requested. And it comes out, as you can see, on the conveyor belt in nice, neat squares. That will then be packed into a box, and it will, as you can see there, and it will arrive at your location, ready to use. So much easier than paying somebody to cut that. And also, if you're having to pay an embroiderer to stand there cutting a backing, if it's a really busy time for production, that's the last thing you want. You want them doing embroidery. The charge that we have for this service is $7.99 for a 100-meter roll, which is very competitive. And if you worked out the wage you'd have to pay somebody to stand there cutting a roll, you can see it's actually more cost effective to use our cutting service. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now this slide's about Weblon. Now this is a fantastic backing that we sell. It was designed originally to sort of to be used for sportswear and stretchy garments, but it can be used for any type of fabric, really, any type of material. But the benefits are it's a really fine backing. It's a cutaway, but it's really strong. So it offers great support to embroidery designs that can be troublesome when using other standard backings. It's ideal for lightweight fabrics. It prevents pulling and sagging, and also because it's really soft, it prevents skin irritation. So because it's used a lot in sportswear, if you people are complaining of nipple irritation, for example, because it's softer against the skin, that can help prevent that. As you can see, on the photographs at the bottom, the left-hand one is just using a standard 40-gram backing, and you can see on the sportswear there it's puckered and pulled around the outside of the design. And the one to the right there, the Weblon, looks absolutely perfect. He's used the Weblon. The beauty of this is as well, often you only need to use one piece. So the last thing you want to do is bulk up 3, 4, 5 layers of a backing to try to get the support you need. With Weblon, you can get away with using just one piece. If the stitch count is higher, sometimes you might need to use 2 pieces, or simply one piece of Weblon and a piece of tearaway as well on top of that. So then afterwards, you would simply tear away the tearaway piece and cut away the Weblon. Just to the right, there's on the photographs an example of comfort wear. Now that you apply after the embroidery process onto the inside of a garment. That you'll often find this used on baby wear and children's clothes, where you want a really soft finish on the inside of the garment, and that's applied with heat. Okay, and I think the next slide is actually a video here. I don't know whether the sound's going to work for this or not. I don't know why it wasn't working on the last one, but this shows the benefits of using Weblon as opposed to a tearaway. It lasts a couple of minutes, but it's a really good video. I'll just let that play. It's not got the sound, but you'll be able to see.
So the Avalon is used on top of the fabric. The Weblon is put underneath.
Lovely, perfect finish. Looks much better, I think you'll all agree.
So just to go back to that, you'll notice there was a little magic tool that took away the Weblon. This is actually a stitch picker that we sell for a couple of pounds. It's very, very cheap. You can use that not just to remove Weblon, but also to remove any backing, provided that your garment or item is still in its hoop. It's really easy to cut around. Instead of using scissors or even tearing something off, you can use this little gadget. And if you're using a water-soluble film, which the Avalon is, that just tears away from the front of the garment.
Okay. I'll be talking about Avalon in a second, so you'll get to see a slide on that, so you'll get to learn more about that. But just to finish up on slippery and stretchy fabrics, I've been touching on there. How to frame them up. Now, you've got to hoop it taut, but not stretched, and you use the correct stabilizer. So there's different choices here. So a slight stretch in the hoop, so it can spring back to shape, is how you want to look at this. Now, you want to use a lightweight backing. Weblon we've just talked about. It's the no-show backing because it's slightly translucent. So it ticks a lot of boxes, Weblon, for these sort of fabrics. You've got a couple of options as well. You could use a stick-on peel away, which is a backing that you actually stick on and then peel away. It does what it says. There's a fusible backing, which you attach to the fabric with heat. Or you can also use temporary adhesive spray to help attach a standard backing to a garment. So we can go into these in more detail in the future. If you're wanting more information, please contact us and we can put you in the different directions to learn about these different products and go into more detail another time. Okay, next slide. Okay, as Karen mentioned there, and you saw on the video. Now, Avalon can be used as another form of stabilizer. Now, this can massively improve the quality on towels, fleeces, and open knits. So, can you see the two letter A's on the right-hand side? Now, this has been used as a topping where you actually put this on top of the embroidery and you stitch through it. Now, what it does, it stops the stitches disappearing into towels or fleece where there's a thick pile to the fabric. You can see the benefit there of using Avalon. It stops the stitches disappearing. And so a couple of photos on the left-hand side, if Jane, you would mind, that's it. You can see that in action on the embroidery machine there, where you're stitching through it. And because it's water soluble on the left-hand side on the Beach Life design, if you've got an intricate design, after you've pulled it away, it can leave little bits in between the different sections of the embroidery. That can be removed with just a little damp paintbrush, dabbing in between the designs to remove those bits of film. So it's a really great product to add stability and improve the clarity of the final finish. Okay. Okay, if this little section has whetted your appetite to try a few different types of backings, if you've always used one or two standard ones and you've wondered why the results can vary, maybe it's a good opportunity to try a few of our backing types. Now, we've put together a top 5 backing pack. This includes 3 different easy tear backings and 2 cutaway backings, so you can have a good try and sample to see which you like and test them out. We've also got a promotional offer that's attached to this. So after sampling these, if you like any of them, if you want to order one of these through our website, if you put put the promotional code there, top 5 pack in, it will give you the chance to get free delivery on one of those products. Now, we'll be sending a follow-up email to everybody who signed up for this webinar with this information on, so don't worry about writing it down just now. We'll send a follow-up email.